Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Cheryl Feidelman. She is the conscious codependence coach. She is a leader in the human potential movement. For the past 15 years, she has been focusing on codependence because it's one of the most obvious ways that we demonstrate our unhealed trauma in our relationships. Her conscious codependence methodology blends a mix of somatic experiencing, cognitive behavioral therapy, and intersubjective meditation to reestablish her client's self-worth by cultivating a deep sense of belonging within the psyche, spirit, and nervous system. That's a lot. That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much.
So, your journey from 25 years of codependence to conscious codependence recovery is nothing short of inspiring. Can you maybe share a bit more of what codependence looked like in your life and what prompted your realization that it was running the show?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to update that on my website because I've been in codependence recovery now for 32
Oh
years.
my goodness, 32 years is a long
Yeah,
time.
it's a long time. Yeah. I started in a program called Codependence Anonymous. And for some of your listeners who may be wanting a free resource, I highly recommend Codependence Anonymous. It's a wonderful community and they do really brilliant work around codependence, and the support is amazing there. So, I uh, my simple definition of codependence is a dissociation from self
Mm,
when we're more focused on one or more other people's realities than our own. When we are sourcing out our feelings. So, in other words, I don't feel safe because of you, or I'm happy because of you, or I'm sad because of you, or I'm confused because of you, right? Our nervous system is hooked on another person, right? Or we repress ourselves because we think that somebody else can't hear us or doesn't have the space for us. So we take up the amount of space that we think another person has for us. Romantic relationships really highlight our codependence the most because once romance is in the picture,
mm,
our whole, unhealed childhood traumatic paradigm comes up. But it happens in other places too, with family, friends, coworkers,
absolutely.
bosses, and stuff like that. So for me, I what I was going through when I was a kid was I was pretty much born into codependence. I was born into a dissociation and disconnection to myself. My mom was mentally ill, and my dad left, but not because he's a bad guy, but because my mom like tortured him and like almost killed him. So like he had to leave. And so when he left, and I watched my dad be codependent with my mom, like constantly like overlooking himself to calm her down and calm her down and calm her down. And it happens with a lot of us as we mirror one or more of our parents' nervous systems.
Mhm.
And so then my dad left, and then I was taking care of my mom's mental health, and I overlooked the impact she had on me. A lot of us, when we were children, if we had an accurate emotional response to the stimulus, if I had an accurate emotional response to the stimulus of my mother's anger, I probably would have like jumped out the window and screamed for help, right?
Right.
But we don't have but an accurate emotional response to the stimulus would get me even more trouble. Like if I was like, ouch, mom, that hurts, or that doesn't feel good, then she would get more angry.
Right.
So I learned, and a lot of people learn, to shut out our emotions, shut out our inner world, dissociate from self, and just take care of the other person. And so that's what I did. And it became an identity, like I became like the cool chick who didn't need anything and was like, so everything was cool, everything was fine. Like, and so in my work, a lot of what I do with my clients is I help distinguish our traumatic identity from our true nature, the identity that developed within you in order to survive your parents' or guardians' reality or psychology. Um, so when my mom, like, she wasn't without trying to get help. Like she was in and out of mental hospitals and she was like constantly trying to get help. And she found this program called Codependence Anonymous. And so there was a program called Codeteen in the basement of the church that she was going to her meeting. So she's
Right.
like, "You want to go to this Codeteen thing?" And so I went, and I didn't stop going for 5 years.
Wow.
Um, because there were other teenagers in there who were like talking about what their parents were doing to them. And I was like, oh, like I'm not alone. And this is what a boundary is. And this is like, I don't have to just sit there when my mom screams at me. Like I was like, getting all these new concepts that I didn't, I thought I was like the only one in the world who
Right.
didn't know these things and that this was happening to.
Wow.
And so, um, and plus, there was an adult, because they have adult sponsors in there. There was an adult sponsor who knew my mom from the adult program and was like, at one point looked me straight in the eyes and he was like, I know your mom and I know she's sick and I'm sorry and I know what you're going through. And so it was like, you know, like an adult, like seeing me and being,
Right.
and like, you know, getting into my reality and like validating it. And so then I started putting boundaries up with my mom, but it took me, I would say, maybe 15 years of codependence recovery to return back to myself. In other words, to stop dissociating from myself, to stop disconnecting from my feelings, to stop trying to fix and change others so that everything could be okay. I was still outsourcing my experience. I was still focusing, every romantic relationship I had, I just kept recreating my childhood dynamic with my mom. So when I started being a life coach, like it was a few years at the beginning where I didn't have a niche. I was just like a trained life coach, and
Hmm.
anybody who has a problem, whatever, just like general. And then I just started seeing codependence so consistently in people. I don't know if it's because that was the lens that I was looking through, because that's what I knew. Um, but so then I decided to choose a niche and I developed my own methodology. And codependence, I feel, is an epidemic. It's rampant. It's so common. And it's not just in like really overt, obvious situations. It's like weaves its way sneakily like through people's lives. And so, um, and I think it's very normal. I'm out to normalize it.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's so
that's,
true.
yeah,
As you're saying, I'm like, oh my goodness, I identify with all of this.
yeah. And it's so unbelievably common for people to live life in dissociation of themselves. And,
Absolutely.
I work with high functioning people who identify as codependent, right? And so I focus on high functioning people because these are the people often where it's easy to overlook it. Like, hey, I got a decent job, the bills are paid, me and my spouse or whatever, everything looks fine, got a decent car. And so it's easy to overlook the fact that maybe you don't feel safe in your partnership, or you don't know how to speak, you're repressed around your boss and you feel dominated. And so there's pockets of places where you feel like you're not your full expression because you're looking more towards the other person to give you permission as to who to be. But it's just so easy to overlook that. So I think that's the full answer to your question
No,
so
I
far.
think that's a beautiful answer, and you brought up so many valid points while you're just explaining just that snippet of your journey, and I appreciate the fact that you've been on this journey a long time, so to then be able to help others, like you've walked the talk, you've lived it, and
Yeah, and I've taken that, decades of my own codependence recovery, and I've put it in my programs. I have a
right,
6 month program. I have a 6 month private program. I have group programs. I've condensed it because I've been looking through the lens of codependence for so long. And
right,
I've been helping people heal it. And so I've been tweaking it and beta testing it. And, it's like some people say it's like 10 years of therapy in like less than a year. Um, I'm fully committed. Like my purpose in life is to help my portion of humanity, whoever I reach,
mhm,
return back to themselves, their talents, their gifts, their passions, their true voice. and to know what their true voice is. Because a lot of us, we don't know if it's the voice of our trauma
Right.
or the voice of our true nature, the one that's speaking inside.
So one of is the trauma to truth process, is that the 6-month intensive, or is that a different? You have a path of conscious codependence recovery. It covers a wide range of distinctions and theories related to the nervous system healing and codependence recovery. Can you maybe give us a glimpse into some of the core principles or insights that participants in this program can expect to explore?
Sure, absolutely. That's a good question. You formulated your questions really well. I appreciate that. So, the foundational methodology
Mhm.
of my work, the foundational principles are the three tenets of conscious codependence. And so, those of you watching or listening, you can go to my website, cherylfeidelman.com, put your email address in, and you'll get an 8-page PDF that covers the three tenets of conscious
Nice.
codependence. And when you give me your email address, I don't go nuts with it. You get like one email a week. I have some free resources and videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and the conscious codependence community gets together once a month, and you get discounts on programs and stuff.
Nice.
So the PDF covers the three tenets of conscious codependence: the want to be wanted, which is rooted in our sense of belonging; the need to be needed, which is rooted in our sense of safety; and the need to prove oneself, which is rooted in our sense of identity. Do you want me to repeat that? I saw you
No, no,
writing
no.
it.
I'm taking a note. I'm thinking about another question.
Yeah, okay. So the PDF will break down the three tenets. Okay, you'll have your common developmental roots of each tenet, common behavioral patterns of each tenet, and there's some questions in there to customize them to your own experience. And so this is really the framework of my work, because with the three tenets, it's a reference point to be able to tell if you're
Mhm.
coming from a codependent habit or behavior.
Oh.
Because a lot of us in codependence, it's like, is that codependence, or is that my
Mhm.
natural want to serve and help? Because that's real too. I mean, I'm not saying that all serving behavior or supportive behavior is rooted in codependence.
Right.
And so the three tenets help us discern, is this healthy dependence? Is this a healthy service from your heart? Or has it gone into the red zone where you are operating to handle another person for your own safety,
I like
for
that.
your own protection? Are you operating from a place of, I don't have any other voice right now, I can't reach my own truth, so I'll reach your truth and serve your truth, right?
Mm.
And so this is what we start to distinguish. And the three tenets is like sort of the home base framework for all of that stuff.
I really like how you have three different tenants, and each one of them sounds so profound. And as you say that, like the need to be needed, like I could imagine so many moms fall into that. Like it's just, I
Well,
love
that's a
it.
really great point. I work with a lot of moms
Mhm.
because we're trying to tease out, is that codependence or is that maternal instinct?
So true.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh,
about it, I mean, we have a similar experience with my mom was also in a mental institution for many years
oh wow.
of my childhood. And it's interesting because I feel that I shifted into a mom role at a very young age. And I'm like, oh, I need to might book a session with you. I mean,
Mm.
it's interesting how, as you're talking, like these pockets of moments and giving away our, our self-worth to other things and other people. Like it's very fascinating. It's
It's
fascinating.
it's very fascinating. It's interesting that we have that in common. And what I want to bring up is I have a few different distinctions that I've created around different types of trauma.
Oh, I like that.
And so, what I want to bring up, considering we're talking about mothering our moms at a young age, is what I call role trauma.
Mm.
Okay. So, I don't know if I've totally pioneered this idea. There's probably other healers who are saying something similar in a different way. But I call it role trauma when the roles are switched at a young age, when we're not playing the role that is appropriate to our age. We have
Mhm.
role trauma, right? So you're momming before you've even like menstruated, right? I mean, like,
Yes.
so then as we get older, we get confused as to what is the appropriate role in lots of different situations.
Right.
And this is where a lot of like weird like dysfunction happens in relationships because we're playing a role that is not appropriate to our position, either romantically or professionally or in our family.
Mhm.
And like for me, for example, I was momming all these guys that I was dating. They weren't even asking me to,
Right.
right? It was just that was my traumatic identity. And I thought I just had a bleeding heart, and that's also the other illusion about codependence. When we're unconscious to our codependence, it often shows up as like, I just love you and I just want to help you. And that's who I am. I'm just a bleeding heart. This is who I am. And so when we become conscious to our codependence is when we start to go, oh, I actually have a limit. I'm going beyond my limit of giving. And I didn't know that because I can't feel my own limits.
Right.
Because when I was a child, we couldn't have a limit. We had to give and give and give beyond what we could spare, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my
And
goodness.
so this is where the idea of boundaries comes in. Oftentimes boundaries are talked about for other people. We have to have boundaries for other people.
Right.
My work has absolutely nothing to do with anybody but us.
I like that.
And so the boundaries are within us. Oh, I can feel my own boundary. I can feel when I'm done. I can feel when I'm a yes. I can feel when I'm a no. I have a boundary with myself. I'm not allowed to give beyond this particular feeling,
Right.
right? Or I'm not allowed to negotiate with myself and say no, say yes when I mean no, or no when I mean yes. So everything has to do with ourselves.
Absolutely. So you offer a workshop, the listening workshop. This
Yes,
focuses
yes,
on how our trauma can be found and the filters through which we listen to others and ourselves. Can you maybe
yes,
elaborate on this concept and how it forms a crucial part of your approach to codependence recovery?
yes. Gosh, you have really good questions.
You're so thank you.
Nobody ever asks me about that program, and that's a really great program. I'm actually
It's the
starting.
best program ever.
I'm starting group 13 soon. Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah. So okay. My private program, which is my flagship program, the Conscious Codependence private program, is 6 months, and it's
Right.
phase 1, 2, and 3 of the Conscious Codependence Trauma to Truth process. The listening workshop is phase 1. It's in a
Nice.
group. So some people are like, they want to jump into the private program, they just want to do the whole thing. And some
Right.
people are like, let me not do the whole thing and get a taste. So
I like
we
that.
have the first 2 months, phase 1, in the listening workshop. Um, and so, what in the listening workshop, I have 7 listening distinctions. And so, what we do is we get in there and really look at the filters through which you're listening to other people. When other people talk to you, what are you filtering them through? Are you filtering through a list that you have on them? Well, they did this thing in 2004 and that thing, and I don't feel comfortable around them, right? What are your listening filters? And not just, and also when people have inflections, right? Like someone says, I'm sorry, or I'm sorry, or like whatever, So we
It's
look
so
at
true.
where do you go with what I call the lyrics, the music, and the mood, the content, which are the words, the
Yeah.
music, which is the inflection of the voice, the mood behind what someone's saying. A lot of us codependents are highly sensitive. We either identify as actual highly sensitive people, HSPs, or we just have a very keen sensitivity to the frequency somebody is occupying, because a lot of us, when we were kids, we had to be really tuned in to our parents to figure out
Yes.
what their mood was and where we
Yes.
stood as opposed as in relationship to their mood. And so in the listening workshop, I'm training people on how to listen from a clean place, filterlessly, pure presence. And not just to other people, but how are you listening to what your mind is telling you? How are you listening to what your body is telling you? Do you have a clean listening pathway from your body to your mind? Or are you interpreting your body, right? Oftentimes we have a feeling in our body and we interpret it as, I'm not safe, I need to shut down, I need to not speak, or I need to. And so we're interpreting our body sensations oftentimes inaccurately, because our body is conditioned to tell us and protect us the way it did when we were children.
Right.
And so now it's still protecting us because it it has lost the ability to tell the difference between a real threat and a perceived threat. So we're perceiving threats quite often that might not be there because our power is in other people's hands.
I
So
love that idea. Please
yeah,
continue.
yeah. So the listening workshop is a wildly powerful program, and it's done in a group. And I keep my groups really small, less than 10 people. Intimacy and like a small, safe container is really important to me.
Yeah.
And I'm also actually the listening workshop right now, I'm also bringing it to businesses. So it's also going to be a business workshop where I train businesses and small organizations in the art of listening, because listening is connection and connection is commerce. And so for businesses, I'll be taking out the codependent element and just delivering it to businesses. So it does take place in my codependence business, and it will be also a business training as well.
When you were saying it, I was thinking about I actually run a doctor's office, and as you were saying, I'm like, that'd be perfect for my business.
Yeah.
Because we listen with filters on and we have judgments, and we're not truly listening. I love it.
Yeah, we're not truly listening, and we're not just having filters to other people.
Right.
We often are projecting into their minds and then reacting to the projections that we put in their minds.
Yeah.
So this is really truly about presence.
And it's what people don't have right now is to really truly be present with themselves
Well, I
and with
would say right
others.
now, but perhaps historically, I mean, this stuff is embedded in the human
Oh,
condition. Most of us were raised by people who weren't connected to themselves, so we weren't demonstrated that. It isn't in the culture at large, but even in our just nuclear families,
I 100% agree with you. Everything that you're saying, I'm like, I can relate it to as a child, as a young adult, as an adult, like as an entrepreneur, being in a business, like everything that you're
every
saying.
category.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be like, yes, yes, Cheryl, sign me up. Like
Great.
honestly, it's profound. So let me
Mm.
ask you this: as someone who has undergone a profound transformation, maybe what advice or guidance would you offer to individuals who may be struggling with codependence and seeking a path towards recovery?
What would I
Sign up
recommend?
for your
Sign up for my program.
sign up for
Yeah.
your program.
Sorry, I just have to plug my computer in.
Sign up for your program. I love it.
Well, get the PDF.
Yeah, that sounds
Read the
wonderful too.
PDF. It's not a hard read. I mean, it's 8 pages, big
Yeah.
type letters. It's not like a lot. And see if you find yourself in there. See if it resonates for you. See if it
Yeah.
lands for you. Whether or not you sign up for one of my programs, I think that PDF will be helpful. If one of your listeners really feels like now is the time, I don't want to live any more of my life dissociated from myself.
Right.
I'm done with that. Then you book a free session. The consultations are free.
Nice.
We can talk and see if it's a match. A lot of my clients, I have a couple hundred videos on YouTube. Your listeners can watch those as well. I'm starting with Instagram. I've been a little bit allergic to social media, but I'm
Oh,
starting to heal that allergy. A lot of my clients are like just at the point where they're like, I'm finished living from the point of view of my traumatic identity.
right.
I'm finished with not trusting myself. I'm finished with living in other people's worlds but my own. I'm just done with being like afraid of people and afraid to have my truth. I'm done. I'm actually done with it. And I want
Right.
to go through the metamorphosis that's
Right.
actually going to heal that out of my nervous system so
Right.
that I don't default to this anymore. And because, a lot of people, myself included, are like, I know this stuff intellectually. Like for so long, I was like, I know it intellectually. How come it's still happening? Like,
So true.
it's not like what I'm saying is rocket science, right? It's like gettable and understandable to some people. But we have to have your emotional life and your nervous system as intelligent as your mind.
Absolutely.
And
That is
that's
so
why I
true.
call this stuff conscious codependence, so that we become conscious of our codependence. It's not like my intention is to you'll like promise like you'll never be codependent again. That would be nice, but ideally is you just become aware of these automatic habits, and you don't they're not your default anymore.
Absolutely. So, throughout your journey, you emphasize the importance of deep, intimate, healthy relationships. How has your own experience of relationships evolved as you move from codependence to conscious codependence?
Good question. You know, I used to have feelings in relationships like I feel very uncomfortable. I don't feel safe. I'm confused as to what's happening. I feel like this person's mad at me and I need to make them unmad at me. Or I feel like I'm punished and I need to like prove that I shouldn't be punished. I would notice these things, but I would stay anyway. And I thought they were the truth. Like this
Mm,
person's mad at me and I should make them not mad at me. Or like this person wants to punish me and I should make them not punish me. And through a lot of my healing, I, for number one, don't believe those things that my mind is telling me anymore. It's not that I don't have those thoughts, it's that I don't believe them.
mm,
And I have feelings and emotions and reactions that I trust. And so, and I have become my current age in many areas of my life because codependence is regressive. It's us operating from a younger version of ourselves. Now, I think it's important to maintain some youth and some play and some fun. So I'm not out to make people boring and like stale old people. Okay, I promise. but but we want to heal all of those protective mechanisms that were created when we were younger that have us in mesh and lean into not being seen
right.
as opposed to lean out of not being seen. You know, I used to not be seen by like people I would date and then beg to be seen.
Mhm.
You know, and it's like you're begging to be seen from the blind. Why are you doing that? Because you're in a younger version of yourself begging your parent for that. And not
Absolutely.
just that, like, you know, I mean, I had a rough go for a while. I was fired from 6 jobs. Like I couldn't I couldn't operate at jobs. Like I just thought everybody was mad at me. I always thought I was going to be fired. I always thought I was going to be in trouble. Like I had so much anxiety just being around people and being a part of things. And that's another huge result of my work is like the anxiety
Mm,
massively decreases because the anxiety is our nervous system going, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe, you're not safe. And that wasn't necessarily true.
right.
And and your viewers can also go on my website. I have lots of testimonial videos where a lot of my clients say like through this work it decreased their anxiety.
I
They
love
live
it.
they were living more from their body than from their mind. They're living more from their true intuition.
Right. So before I ask you the last question, if
Yeah.
anyone is interested in working with you, can you tell us one more time what is your website?
Yeah, it's CherylFeidelman.com.
Perfect. So your
Uh,
vision, oh, go ahead.
can you put it, will it be like in the
Yes.
description of the, okay.
Absolutely. I will make sure
Uh-huh.
to link her website in the show notes. Don't worry, anyone, if anyone can't spell it.
Okay.
So, your vision is to leave a legacy of specific and expedited codependence recovery for all
Yes,
humans. How
yes,
do you envision this work impacting the broader human condition? And what changes do you hope to see in individuals who embark on this journey?
yes, thank you. Another good question. You did your homework. Here's the thing, I'm out to normalize it. I'm out
Yes.
to normalize codependence. You know, as I just keep expanding my marketing efforts, I mean, that's the idea is that's just how it's going to happen. Just keep
Mhm.
expanding, just keep getting the word out, more and more interviews. I'm doing lots of articles and just the more people I heal, the more people I help be in relationship with themselves, the more humans out there will be in relationship with themselves.
Right.
The number one most important relationship, I promise, is the relationship with yourself. It's not the relationship with your spouse. It's not the relationship with your partner. It's not the relationship with your mother or your boss. It's with yourself.
So true.
Everything is sourced from our relationship with ourselves. Intimacy is sourced from our intimacy with ourselves. Connection is sourced from our connection with ourselves. And so ideally, yes, I want to leave a legacy of more and more and more people connected to themselves. And then those people will have children and train their children to not separate, to train their children to have consistently regulated nervous systems and speak from their truth and their intuition. Because codependence is a separation from our intuition.
Right.
Codependence is when we think it's our intuition telling us what we think somebody else needs, as opposed to listening to what our intuition is telling us that we need and actually having that be a priority.
That is so, so true. I love that. Well, Cheryl, I want to thank you so much
Yeah,
for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. You are amazing. I definitely look forward to checking out more that I know you're going to be offering in the future.
thank you so much.